Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a nice fall evening. Tonight, we've got the great pleasure of having Jeff Gibby back with us from MetaStock. Just one of my very good friends in this business. And it's worked together so well for the last few years, getting the scan set up for the best trades on MetaStock, which will kind of dovetail in with we're having a training this weekend for the top ranked signals and patterns quantified, and then how to put some option strategies to them real quick and batching them into different areas where, depending on whether you're a day trader, a swing trader, or a longer term investor, they all work well for you. But I want to start this off by saying that MetaStock is probably one of the best scanning softwares you're ever going to come across. I always tell people the biggest flaw with MetaStock software is that there are so many good things on it that you'll never be able to get around to using them all. So what we're going to do here real quick is I'm going to go through what signals and patterns we like to look for. And then Jeff is going to come on and show how you find them, which is very simple. Obviously, everybody knows we've got the 12 major signals, and it is doing this again. For some reason, there we go. It's got the 12 major signals, and we've got the high profit signals and patterns. So it makes it very easy, and this is not working well, that we can essentially look for the stocks that you can put in your own universe where we can find the belt hold signals or the best friend signals. These are occurring every single day. And as we were setting up, I saw Jeff had the same screen where he's got more signals on here, but you find the evening star signals. And knowing what happens with investor sentiment at logical support and resistance levels that everybody else is watching, we can see exactly when it's time to start covering short positions. And then notice what we saw today. There was another kind of evening star signal, but the important factor was it failed here at the T-line, telling us that we are not in an uptrend yet. So we can go through and find the relevant signals and patterns. The morning star signal giving us a strong uptrend, or the best friend signal, which is a doji, followed by a gap up. So today, we started going after shorting Roku on a blue ice failure, which is basically a bearish engulfing signal at a major resistance. We call it a blue ice failure because the price fell through the ice, or somebody fell through the ice. When they come up and try to find the hole they fell through, they can't find it. They drown, so where's the next target? Down here at the bottom of the pond. And what other relevant factors can we put into this analysis? That if we find this bearish engulfing signal right here at a major resistance level, and we can see we've got a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, that kind of correlates with the blue ice failure prospects. This is the next target area. Notice how the uptrend started here on Roku. Again, there's your doji gap up, your best friend that started the uptrend. So these scans find the best trades. There's a bullish Harami, and if we know what a bullish Harami tells us, which is basically that the selling has stopped and they gap it up the next day, what would that tell us about the 50-day moving average? They weren't selling it here, they were buying here. So anytime we see that setup, it becomes a very high probability trade setup that the bulls have taken control. So once you have learned what the signals are telling you and where they're occurring, especially as far as a resistance level and where the stochastics are, you're definitely putting the probabilities dramatically in your favor because of one simple factor. These signals are not produced by any software or any formulas. These signals are constantly produced by what happens in human nature. The Japanese rice traders illustrated for us over the last 400 years when there's been a change of investor sentiment. A bearish flutter kicker signal, very easy to recognize. A bullish candle closes up here. The next day they gap it down, do a doji, and then our simple doji rule says the price is usually going to move in the direction how they open after a doji, which means they're going in this direction. That's, if you took out the little flutter, you got a kicker signal, one of your strongest signals. Bearish kicker signal, especially with a gap down, tells us there's probably going to be a lot more downside. A bearish best friend, very simple. Doji, shooting star, gap down. What's that telling us about investor sentiment? There's a lot of force to the downside. When you add the other elements or the other indicators, like it's gap back down through the 50-day moving average, which everybody is watching, and it's gap down through our T-line, which we're watching, that we know is a very high probability trend indicator. So not only does Metastock have the capabilities of identifying the signals, but they also can do we've set it up so where they can do the pattern scans. And there's a great benefit for identifying the patterns, because no matter what the market is doing, the patterns have two relevant factors. One, they're usually going to produce high profit trades. And two, even if the market is heading down, they're probably still going to produce a profitable trade opposite of what the market's doing, because these patterns are set up by human nature, or development of human nature. This is what we call the classic, because we have a fry pan bottom. What's our expectation of a fry pan bottom? A very strong price move. Then we have a J-hook pattern. What's our prerequisite for a J-hook pattern? A very strong price move. So that works in combination. And so it doesn't take a whole lot of spectacular, I can't think of the word, technical analysis to identify what usually happens in human nature. So there's our J-hook pattern, and how do we know this is a J-hook pattern? Because we can see where the buying has started. There's our morning star signal. There's a big bullish engulfing signal. So when they pull back and they start back up, what are the relevant factors of a J-hook pattern? Wave 1 and wave 3 are usually going to be the same price move. Kicker signal. Out of the 12 major signals, the kicker signal is usually your strongest signal. It basically tells you that investor sentiment's been kicked in the opposite direction and usually going to produce a very strong and lengthy uptrend. We can search for the inverted hammer. Jake, this is just to show, that's a question you can ask in the chat room. It doesn't have to be exact. It's wherever you see the next wave starting. But the inverted hammer is one of the 12 major signals. Now, the information that we can provide on an inverted hammer is it's probably the least, the least frequent of the 12 major signals. However, and this is unofficial, this is just me over the last 40 some odd years trading candlesticks. If you see an inverted hammer, especially in the oversold area, and they trade it positive the next day, you've probably got at least a 95% probability or greater that you're going to be in an uptrend. There's our fry pan bottom. And what stimulates this? Bullish engulfing signal, hammer doji, a belt hold signal. What do we know about a belt hold? Basically, you can easily identify it. It gaps way out of the trading range and comes back into the trading range. So what's it doing to the sellers? It's stopping up all the selling, so there's very much less selling in front of it. Works both on the bearish, or the bullish, or the bearish. We went short today on Winnebago because look at all the things that you can see from this kind of belt hold signal. They gap it way up, bring it back down. Just very logically that the bears are in control. Then they gap it down. What's that telling you? They've gotten rid of all the buyers. This probably has a lot more downside to it. SRTY, whether you're trading a sector, an ETF, it doesn't matter. The patterns work just as effectively. There's your fry pan bottom. There's your J-hook pattern. There's your inverted hammer harami. These are all pieces of evidence to say that you can be buying this one on positive trading tomorrow because wave 1 and wave 3 are going to be pretty much the same. So whether you're looking for bullish or bearish signals, here's a bull kicker today, TCP. Opened here, closed here, gapped up and went this direction. What's this tell you? That there's been a very powerful force kicking that investor sentiment in the opposite direction. On the other side of the coin, a bearish kicker signal. Tells you the same thing, that there's a very strong force to the downside. And what other pieces of analysis can we throw in here? Wave 1, wave 2, bearish J-hook, probably heading down at least to this level. So it just helps you get yourself put in the right conditions or the right direction at the right time. So we've got approximately 16 or 18 high probability, what we call top rank signals and patterns. We can identify them visually. Metastock has, we've put the formulas in. They can do it, so even if you're in the learning process, Metastock software, I'm going to let, as a matter of fact, I'm going to let Jeff tell you all the benefits and all the applications that you have with candlestick signals identified on their scanning software. So with that, I'm going to take down my charts and let Jeff put up his charts. And if you've got any questions during that time, this is a good time to ask. Okay, there it is. All right. Well, yeah. Jeff Gibby has been one of my great friends in this business, and just a great person to work with, as well as they've got a great software program for scanning. So, Jeff, welcome back to the Candlestick Forum. We're hopefully anxious to see all the information you got to show people.
All right, very good. Ram asked a really good question. I'll answer that as soon as we get into screening. But the trick is it's actually really easy to do a scan. You can just say, I want to do a scan against all the optionable stocks, and that's all you have to do, and it'll only filter out optionable stocks. So it's not hard at all. It's not hard at all. We're gonna do plenty of scanning. I've actually I'll show you how I set up a little bit of a pre-filter list based on some criteria that Steve and I put together, and a main part of the product is scanning. So I do want to say that Steve and I have known each other through a number of years. My voice is a little muffled. I might be getting a little bit of cold. I'll turn up the volume a little bit. And I might be getting a little bit of a cold. That might be what you're hearing with the muffling. So we'll go ahead and I'll clear out my voice, and hopefully that'll help a bit. I also turned up the microphone and adjusted a little bit, so hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit. I have 2 girls that are in elementary school, and they all went back to school, and those elementary schools are just petri dishes when it comes to that. So it's generally the sick time of year. So very good. Kind of going in and out. I can't seem to follow all of your comments. Okay, let's try. I'm going to try number 1. I'm going to make sure that it's using the right mic. So give me just a second. Let me see if we can adjust.
All right, is that better, guys? All right, okay. I'm using my fancy snowball. Okay, very good. Very good. You might hear a little bit more echoey, but I do have a little bit better luck on the snowball. I'm going to put my headset back on just in case somebody tries to talk to me. Okay, good. Okay, so let me just kind of go ahead and start talking a little bit about this product. I'm incredibly proud of this product. Me and Steve and my programmer William here worked on this for several years to get everything right, and particularly spend a lot of time on some of the more subjective patterns like the J-hook. And this was a number of years ago. We kind of polished this up as a product. We've been marketing it. I will tell you that it is our most successful modern add-on. People love this thing. I sent it over to the late Dennis Peterson, and I had him review it. He's a reviewer. He did a lot of really good work with stocks and commodities, and he liked to review products for Metastock, and he gave it a very high rating. Over the years, it's actually been rated one of the best add-ons available several times, not just for Metastock, but for any product that's available. And I really appreciate the time that Steve spent working with William to just make sure everything was perfect. A couple of the other things to mention about this product is I actually use it to find trades. It's been an extremely popular product. I have spent a lot of time doing different sessions with Steve, and I've learned a lot from Steve as well. So to introduce myself, my name is Jeff Gibby. I'm the Director of Sales here at Metastock, and I do a lot of fun things, but I do a lot of presentations as well. So today what we're going to be talking about is kind of one of the most successful add-on products we've ever released, and something that's been rated one of the best add-ons. I show this to everybody, and people really, really like it. I was up in Canada doing a bit of an in-person demo, and one of the guys, after I got done talking about Bigalow, came up and told me how much he loved it. But that's not uncommon. We get that all of the time. So when we sat down, and we're on version 2 now. We released the second version this year, and it has a lot of new patterns in it. So I do appreciate the work we've done with Steve. He's one of the best technicians I've worked with, and I've certainly learned a lot from him. So in any case, here's a picture of the box artwork. I want to give you an idea of what we're identifying in there. We're just going to deal with charts and scanning. I'm going to do most of this in Metastock. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat as well in case you have a problem. Gail says, I have a problem with hoarseness. I find that if I speak slowly and enunciate, that helps. I'll try and do that. I have a tendency when I start talking to just go crazy. So if you find that you want me to slow down or that you're having a hard time hearing me, let me know and I will slow down. I am a bit hoarse today. So he is good looking too. And he is, yes. So here are the patterns, the multiple day patterns that we identify. And they include the fry pan, the doji at the top, the doji at the bottom. I'm not going to read all of these, but the muffin sandwich, the doji sandwich, the bowl kicker, the bear kicker. And what we did for the second version was we added like the muffin patterns. These ones that say new, like this doji sandwich, this McMuffin sandwich, and the bobble, these are all been added. We also added a lot of the single day patterns. So that there's commentary and there's description and all that kind of stuff with it. And let's just go ahead and jump into the product. And let me kind of show you how this works. I like to kind of do a lot of work in looking at the Dow when I'm looking at different markets and that kind of stuff. And I was reading some of the comments that came in the chat room a little bit earlier today. But I just want to kind of identify how this kind of appears on a chart. So you can open this up with any chart that you want. You can apply this template, and it's automatically going to put in all the moving averages that Steve uses. It's going to put the stochastics down here at the bottom. But you'll also know, in addition to doing that, it's going to label those patterns that were on that slide here. And it does a really, really good job, especially if you just have some basic information and knowledge about how Steve uses the T-line in the trading that he's doing. So as you noticed right before, we had this really serious market crash that happened just recently. We had a doji followed by a gap down, and the name of that pattern is a doji at the top. So this would have signaled right here on the 4th, the day after my anniversary. I've been married for 20 years. So October 4th, this would have signaled in and given us a doji at the top reading, just signaling the way Steve likes to explain this particular pattern. You've got a doji bar, which is indecisive. When you have that gap down, it then becomes a doji at the top pattern. And that is basically what he likes to say is the indecision followed by a decision. Of course, we don't want to trade the indecision. We want to trade the decision. So that's where that signal is generated. Right before that, maybe 2 days before that, we kind of have this slow curve that kind of formed up. Obviously, the market changed its mind, which it does. So that's why it's important that you kind of understand where you use the stops and how the pattern works. So automatically, before I kind of show you how you kind of get some commentary out of that, automatically we're going to label all of those patterns that were on the chart for you. The other thing that we did as part of this is we actually included and I believe I took a lot of the commentary from Steve's course. But what I can do, I want to actually show you how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and click on View. I'm going to click on the expert commentary here, and it's going to open up a window that I can either have on this side or I can move it to this side. I can put it on a different screen. But you'll notice when I open up this commentary window, what's going to happen is it's going to put a triangle right here. Okay. So yesterday we did have a single day pattern. It was called the doji pattern. If I wanted to kind of get a little bit of an understanding of what that is, I just have to move this bar over. So if I just click above this chart just a little bit, it's going to go ahead and give me a description of what is going on in that day. So I can come in here. It says a doji is formed on the current bar. A doji is represented when the opening and closing prices are the same. This represents indecisions between the buyers and the sellers. A series of dojis represent major indecision. Traders should wait for a decisive move before trading dojis, and they're likely to be present in both continuation and reversal patterns. So any of these particular pattern days that you see on a chart, you can actually go in and it'll give you an idea of what's going on in the chart. So if I just want to show you another one. This is a multiple day pattern, so you have the doji followed by that gap down, which is the doji at the top. If it had been a gap up, it would have been called a doji best friend. But a doji followed by a gap down is called a doji at the top. These are two of my favorite patterns when I'm going in and doing scanning for that. So over here it says doji at the top followed by a gap down. Traders can go short after this doji at the top. With prices in the overbought over area, stochastics above 80 is what we're looking for in a doji or spinning top forms. So this part actually kind of explains the pattern for you, what it's looking at. The other thing, it'll give you some advice in terms of what you should do with it. So this short opportunity is further enhanced if the doji occurs below the 8 exponential moving average, which it didn't. The ADMA is right here. Okay. Exit if there is any trading above the high of the previous day's signal. So if we wanted to act on that, we'd go ahead and take a short position. And what we would look to do is we definitely would want to get out if this high was breached. That would mean the pattern was invalidated. Okay. And so based on that, we would have went short. Based on the way that Steve likes to follow the T-line and that kind of stuff, you could still be in this position, or you might have gotten out when it popped up above the 3 exponential moving average. Just depends on terms of what he's looking for. Liz says, a couple of questions. I have a tendency to look at questions once in a while. In well-developed markets, the system seems to work okay. But if you want to apply any trading systems in less developed markets, please be aware that our price manipulators that are there to mislead you. That's a great point. In fact, one of the things that Steve recommends is that you trade stocks that are at least $5 and that have a certain amount of trade volume. And I'm going to show you how to do that, Liz, since we have a little bit of extra time today. One of the things I do on a quarterly basis is we have some pre-filter scans that you run through, and they just filter out any stocks that are below $5 or below $5, and I believe it's about 100,000 in volume, so that we don't want to be in markets that are very, very manipulatable, just like you're saying. Liz, yes, you can use the system with the RMO. It's designed to work independently, but I find I like to use this system in conjunction with some of the RMO signals, particularly the trends. So, would 921 and 916 look like the same pattern? 921, this one right here. This is 918. I think this is what you're talking about. So we had a bit of a slow curve here. Okay, pop up, give you a bearish signal. This one right here was maybe the other one that you're talking about, Jake. It's a similar. This one's a fry pan in an uptrend is what we're calling that one as, whereas this is more of a slow curve. So based on kind of the definition. So and they do those two patterns can look very similar. Okay, all right. So let me kind of that's kind of how the chart looks. It's very, very simple. Again, we can kind of go in very easily and see all the patterns that exist on a chart. We can go ahead and see what the commentary and what the suggestions are. All the indicators supplied for us. But of course, what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about how to set up scanning in the software. And so I'm going to show you exactly how that works. We'll look at some charts today and kind of just see if we can find anything good. Okay, you go ahead and click on this. Gail asked a really good question. While we're still on charts, that's a good time to do it. Can one manipulate the way the charts look? I find open green candles difficult to see. Yes, absolutely. You can kind of change that. In this particular case, what we're doing is we're painting the bars green based on whether they're open or closed. If you want to kind of change that to maybe a different color, what you would do is just come into the expert properties and under highlights, maybe I stand corrected. Okay, see right here where it says up candle at the very bottom. Okay, if you just double click that, you can change it to any color you want to. It's just as easy as basically going into the commentary and changing the color. I'm not going to save that change though. Okay. I was looking at the doji on 921. Okay, so let's look at the 21st. Okay. Is this followed by this gap down? Okay, so technically the reason this didn't trigger as a doji at the top is it didn't gap below this close. So the idea is the same. You had a bit of an engulfing bullish pattern, but we needed to we needed it to gap underneath the wick for it to signal. Okay, so that's why. This could be, you're looking at the right thing though. You have an indecisive day, but the gap down was not big enough. In other words, it didn't open up underneath this candle completely. Okay, all right, good questions. Keep them coming. We got time for plenty of them. All right, so how do we set up the scans? And let me talk a little bit about how that works. It's actually very, very easy to do. So to answer your question, Graham, a bit earlier, how do I do a scan of all the optionable stocks? I have a list of local data that I've got right here, but Metastack maintains a list of optionable stocks. So if I wanted to go in and scan just the optionable stocks, all I would do is click on Explore right here, which is our scanning button, and it takes me to the scans that are available, and you'll notice that right here we've got the CPS Doji Dynamite patterns. What we've done is we've broken up the patterns into different categories. So you could run all of these as a scan, or you could run them individually. But right here you've got Doji Dynamite. If I hovered over it, this will find Doji at the top, your Doji Best Friends, your left-right bullish combos, your left-right bearish combos, your series of Doji bullish, your series of Doji bearish. I'm not going to read them all because I'm a little bit clamped right now, but it kind of gives you an idea of what those are. And so between all of these different patterns, you're going to be able to scan for just about anything that you want. The ones I like to scan for are the Doji Dynamites and the price patterns. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about these universe pattern signals. So if I hover over it, It's basically designed to go through a list and filter out anything that's under $5 and does not have an average volume of 200,000 shares traded daily. Okay? And so here's a universe oversold list. Basically, that does the same thing, but it also looks for the stocks that are in that scan to be oversold. Okay? So if I wanted to kind of build a scan of all the optionable stocks here, what I can do is basically the first thing I'm going to do is maybe do a universe scan. So filter out everything I'm not interested in, and then a different scan as well. One of the things I want to talk about too is kind of the different lists that are available in Metastock. So right now I'm kind of working with data that I've downloaded and stored on my drive. But I want to let you know that you can use this just about anywhere in the world. So, for example, if I wanted to, if you're over in, let's say, Asia somewhere, and maybe you're in Australia and want to be able to use this and scan for stocks on the ASX, you can. If you're on Bombay, you can. If you're interested in stocks in Colombo or Ho Chi Minh or Hong Kong, you can. If you're in Europe and you want to do it against London, one of the things that we kind of like is the fact that we get our data from Thomson Reuters. And if you take a look at this really small number here, the amount of instruments that we cover, and I'm joking a little bit, is 382,697 instruments. So regardless of what market, we're going to focus on U.S. markets, but if you want to be able to apply this and do these scans and you're in India, for example, you can do that. It works very, very well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, well, what I want to do is I'm going to do this universe scan, okay, and I'm going to go through all of the optional stocks, okay. And when it's done with that, I'm going to go ahead and have it scan for any of the Doji Dynamite patterns. So I'm going to go ahead and say that. Over here, I'm going to scan on a daily interval. I definitely want to make sure and use this filter right here so it filters out stocks. Again, the idea here is let's focus on the stocks that have opportunities and ignore the ones that they don't. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically set on the summary button, I'm going to set the order in which this runs. So I'm going to actually have it run the universe scan first, and then I'm going to have it run whatever that filters through into this Doji Dynamite. Okay? So I want to use the results from the previous exploration. That's this option here. If I was running the same list against all of the stocks, I might want to just use the same list for each one. Okay? But for this particular application, I'm going to run the universe scan first. Then I'm going to take whatever comes out of that universe scan and run it through the Doji Dynamite scan. Okay? So I'm going to use a daily basis. So I'll just go ahead and run this scan. Okay? And we'll see where that pops up. It might pop up on a different screen. It did half on a different screen. So again, what we've got here, I swore I had it run it the other direction. But I actually wanted to run this universe scan first. So, but that's okay. We'll have it run it in the reverse order. I might actually go in and save, I want to look at the reports the other direction. So I might run this again in a second. So it's gone through the Doji Dynamite scan here. And instead of kind of going into the universe scan, I just want to show you what this definition looks like. Doji Dynamite. Doji Dynamite. I'm trying to remember what that pattern is exactly. And Steve might need to help me with it. Okay. So what we tried to do is we tried to break them up into different categories. So Doji Dynamite, that's just the name that we came up with to kind of call this category. And if you hover over it, it's just all the Doji patterns. So I don't know, to me in retrospect, Doji Dynamite seems like a kind of a little bit of a silly name, but I probably came up with it 5 years ago. So it's just a category that this falls into. Okay? Discuss this. Thanks for telling us what you like here. Okay. So I ran this scan. Here we've got a column that says Doji at the top. We've got Doji best friend. We've got your left-right bullish, your left-right bearish, your series of bearish, your series of bullish, your Doji sandwich, your muffin patterns. And this is just lists out your stochastic and your close values. Okay. Now, one of the things that was kind of interesting for me is I was looking at the chat earlier, And Steve was talking from earlier today, from the session Steve was from the chat group earlier. And one of the things that Steve was talking about, I'm just going to move this out of the way for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and close this down. Okay. And one of the things that Steve was talking about, and I didn't even realize this, but all of our major indices, so if we're looking at the Dow, we're looking at the S&P 500, we're looking at those type of stocks, everything that we're looking at right now is using the T-line, or the 8 exponential moving average right here, as resistance. So we had a close above the T-line yesterday, but that was rejected today. And for the past 2 days in a row, and for this whole period back here, except for this day, we've had closes that have been below this T-line. Ever since it kind of broke down and we had this dramatic move, you'll notice it's been trading below that exponential moving average. So what he did say is, hey, maybe we should be looking, we should definitely, as long as that T-line is acting as resistance for the market in general, we should be looking at patterns. We should definitely have shorts in our portfolio, is exactly what he said. So let's look at some shorts. We'll get an idea of kind of what we like here and what we don't like. So the doji at the top was the pattern that we saw on the Dow chart right here at the top. It's basically that Dow doji followed by the gap down. And let's see if we have any patterns that are there. So out of all of those optional stocks, we have 3 that are doji at the top right now. Okay, these ones that have a 1 in this column, what it says is these are doji at the top. So PowerShares, DP Silver, Corn, and soybean ETFs all have a doji at the top. And I think what I'm going to do is let's just go ahead and take a quick look at this. And these are all ETFs, so I'm probably not going to like them. But let's go ahead and take a look at if any of these generated a signal that I like. And I actually kind of do like this one. Again, I'm not making a recommendation here. I'm not sure what this is. Obviously a soybean ETF. Corn is an ETF. All of these are giving. That's interesting that we've got 2 commodity-based ETFs that are giving us a optional pattern. But let's kind of take a look at kind of what I look for at the chart, on a chart. And I actually really kind of do like this one. So we do have a bobble that kind of panned out here. We kind of went into this slow curve that hasn't broken out, but we had basically a doji followed by a fairly serious gap down, which gave us a doji at the top. I don't like trading ETFs personally. We look at this bullish engulfing pattern though. That worked out really well. Into a T-line crash, into a gobble pattern, and then it kind of lost energy. This one might be a little bit in, but here again, what we'd be looking for if we're looking at a scan result, if we're trying to kind of evaluate these trades, we're going to look at these enhancements. So the further away the doji occurs below the 8 exponential moving average, the higher probability of reversal has occurred. Or if the day after the doji gap down, the T-line closes below the T-line, the higher the probability of a downtrend. So this did happen below that T-line, that 8 exponential moving average. So it looks like a pretty good one. I just don't like a lot of ETFs. I'll trade like DIA and SPY occasionally. The reason I don't like some of the more obscure ETFs is actually because of Dr. Alexander Elder, and it's a bit of a longer story. So let's go ahead and look at the corn ETF. So I'm just basically, I've got this Power Console window open up here. I'll just double click on that. We'll take a look at that. Here, again, just look at how well some of these patterns work out. Here you had a doji. Again, that's an indecisive bar followed by a good move down into kind of the scoop pattern. Here you had a couple of dojis, which again are indecisive days. It pulled back for a little bit. You had a nice little bobble pattern. And here we're getting the doji in the top. Okay? And again, here's what we'd be looking for. The further the doji occurs below the 8 exponential moving average, the higher probability. It did occur below it, so we're not watching for a gap down tomorrow. It looks like a pretty good pattern, but again, this is an ETF. So unfortunately, they're all ETFs. So let's look at the third one now. We'll just kind of get a feel for kind of how these signals look out. And you see how easy that is. Okay, again, look at this bullish engulfing that we had. Got a T-lunch pattern here. We had a bobble pattern here. Here's that doji followed by that gap down. It's not easy to find some of these patterns. I don't know if I'd be able to pick a favorite in these, and they're all ETFs, so I'm going to move on. But that's how we go about identifying these opportunities. Bruce says, Scott says, I'm thinking of buying puts tomorrow. I would definitely follow Steve's lead on that. You should have some shorts in your portfolio in this market. Doji sandwich is a 3-day formation. Does your doji sandwich scan for the last day of the signal formation to be on the present day? So let me rephrase that just a little bit. All of the scans that we're doing looks for the formation to complete and to have it actionable, something that you can exercise on. So we're looking at a doji at the top pattern, right, which is a 2-day pattern. What we're looking for is the full pattern to complete. So we're looking for that doji to occur, that nice gap down to happen, and to give us that signal to go short. Great question. I'm glad you asked it. So, can the scans be modified? Another great question, Jimmy. One of the things that we actually did is we left them all open. Now, before you start modifying the scans, I'd recommend you make a copy of them. You can go in and add indicators to them. You can add other stuff to them. You can add other qualifiers to them. Steve and I decided when we released this to leave it as an open source code so that you could go in and see what was going on the chart. And if you wanted to add your own conditions and kind of customize it, I would recommend if you start to do that is just copy the exploration. You can right-click on it, make a copy, and then you can edit it to your heart's content. And that way you always have a version that's kind of the original version in case you want to go back to it. Jake asks, wouldn't you be better off buying an inverse ETF than a put? Maybe. Maybe. There's arguments either way. I certainly like to buy options generally. And the reason I like to do that is, and that's a personal preference, but I like to buy options that are a little bit out of the money. The reason I like to do that is it acts as a little bit of a money management, and it allows you to get a little bit of leverage. It allows you to monitor your risk a little bit more. But it is personal preferences. I traded stocks, and I was adamantly opposed to options until we had a guy here by the name of Logan that was doing a lot of option traders, and he really talked me into the idea of doing options. I really love doing options. But I think that's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're talking about today. For me personally, and this isn't a recommendation. Yeah, Logan Connors, exactly. Logan was like, well, I was like, well, if you buy it, well, this gets way off topic, but Logan was actually the guy that kind of got me into options, and I really do like him. So generally when I go into an option trade, just to kind of give you an idea, I'm usually going 1 to 2 strikes out of the money, and I'm usually going between 4 and 6 weeks out of the money. Or 4 and 6 weeks out for an expiration date, I should say. So that's generally what I'm looking at when I'm doing a directional option trade. I had a good discussion with Don Fishback, who's an options trader, about maybe looking at more like a delta of 70 is a better place to start. But I haven't started implementing that. That was last weekend. So in terms of the option trading I do, I keep it very, very simple. I'm always looking at either buying a put or buying a call. But I wouldn't consider myself at all an option guru. So I've just been doing it for a few years. I wouldn't want to feel like I'm giving you advice. It's just what I'm looking for. So, in any case, let me talk a little bit. So that's in a nutshell the pattern. We have the universe scans that actually put together the scans for you. They basically allow you to go through and filter out a big list and make it smaller. I do that probably once a quarter. Generally, the scans I'm running are these Doji Dynamite ones. I like those Doji at the tops and the Doji Best Friends. And I think the reason I gravitated is one time Steve told me it was one of his favorite patterns. So the J hooks are also good. They'll go in and scan for the J hooks. They're all good patterns. Those are just the ones that I've gravitated to. I already showed you this. This is how the chart looks like. Again, what we're doing is roughly about 35 of his patterns or so. These are the multiple day patterns that we're identifying. These are the single bar patterns that we can identify. Okay. Again, just to reiterate, I was looking at a bunch of charts today with one of my coworkers. This thing is one of our most loved add-ons. Again, it's been rated #1 by so many years. We've sold so many copies of this. And more important than all of that and the good review that we got from Dennis Peterson is the amount of people I talked that just absolutely just love this thing. I had a guy up in Canada. We do a lot of online trading summits. Every time I talk to somebody that's using it, it seems like their experience with it is as positive as mine. So I'd encourage you to try it. We also, one of the things that we throw in this is Steve and I sat down and he recorded kind of like about a 25-minute his patterns. And I actually went in and actually created a training session to kind of show you how to run all the scans, how to open the charts. It's a very simple process. It didn't take me a lot of time, but it shows you step by step exactly what to do in a little bit more of a, okay, now do this, now do this, now do this type of a thing. So it includes what we call a master class for the product as part of the product. And what we actually sell for this, and actually I thought I had a better slide to end this on. Normally this is okay. Normally this is a one-time cost. You pay $499 for it. We offer all of the products that we do as on a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can try this out. If you decide it's not helpful for you, you can return it. We don't ask a lot of questions. We don't give you a hard time. We don't make you show your trade results. We might ask you if you just were having problems because people love this thing. But if you do want to return it, we will give you a money-back guarantee. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a bit of a discount today. So I'm going to go ahead and type a message in here. I know there's a couple more questions, and I will answer them. But if you come to this website, it's metastock.com/candlestick4MA. What it's going to allow you to do, and I'm just going to click on this link right here and open it up. Where'd that go? Okay. Maybe I'll just open this up here instead. I'll just show you kind of a little bit about how this page works. So if you come up to metastock.com/candlestick4MA, what we're going to do basically is there's a little bit of a video. I recorded this on the new version. If you come down here a little bit, what you'll be able to see is you'll be able to see $499, that $100 discount, so basically a $399 one-time fee. And if you already have Metastock, just do that. Okay. Metastock, to give you some information on that, it's a program that we've been developing here in Salt Lake City, Utah, for the last 30 years. For the last 25 years in a row, it's been rated #1 in its price category. If you don't have Metastock yet, I'd encourage you to try it. It's a very, very good engine to help you find trades. It has really good system tester. It has full market scanning. It's got the alerts that we showed you. It's also backed by Reuters News and Information. So you can do a real-time trial of Metastock for free here. You can do real-time with this option or a daily charts version. The difference between these two versions is pretty simple. Daily charts updates once a day. So if you're kind of working all day like I am and want to be able to just scan through charts at night, you just need the daily charts, and it only costs you $59 a month after that free month. Okay? If you are real-time and you want to be able to watch the markets during the day, you can do this Metastock real-time subscription. And one of the things that it includes is everything is real. Everything has the ability to go real-time. You can go real-time on any of the stocks. It ranges in cost from $199 a month to $250 a month. But it also includes a product we call Zenith, which is amazing. It gives you all of the real-time news that Thomson Reuters feeds out to their brokers and institutions and banks. So I'd recommend you try the real-time since it's free for a month, and you can always downgrade to the daily charts if you decide it's not useful, or you can do it with just daily. But really, just to kind of give you an idea of Zenith, they spent $1 billion designing it. It's a product that they sell to institutions and banks, and those, you'll notice you can ask them questions here if you want, but those institutions and banks pay 10 times what you pay for it. So the best real-time news and information service that's available to an individual trader, unless they're willing to fork out like $1,800 or $2,000 to get a Bloomberg. So those are kind of the options. If you already have Metastock, you just want to get Candle Profit System 2, go ahead and click here. Do a trial for Metastock if you need it. You should try the real time. You'll love it. Go ahead and click on Order Now, and that'll get you all set up. So there you go. Harold says, does the software either the buy or sell signals off a primary indicator, or is there a second confirmation indicator is used before it makes recommendations? So in this particular system, because you can set it up as good as however you want to, but the way we set up Steve's is what we will signal the pattern, and if you want to confirm it with the stochastics, we'll mention it in this pattern description. So in some of the patterns, like we wanted to actually include stochastics being overbought and oversold as part of the condition, but for the majority of the patterns, what we do is we give you these enhancements. So we'll show you this doji at the top, for example, but we'll tell you, because you'll get a list of them that you can look at, but the further away from the doji that occurs, you get the exponential moving average with the T line. So there you go. JF says, so for $3.99 for the candlestick annotations and the scanning, and $60 a month thereafter. Correct. That's exactly right. And you can talk to our sales guys. So if you call, because after your 30-day trial, it might be better for you to do a bit of a different subscription with your Metastock. I do the 30-day trial so I can do it for free, but there's other ways to purchase it. So the big thing here is go ahead and try the product. There may be cheaper ways for you to do it than just $59 a month or $250 a month if you decide this is going to be useful for you. Okay? Diana asked a really good question. Would Metastock work on an Apple MacBook Pro? The answer is yes, but. And what I mean by that, Diana, is it'll work on a MacBook Pro, but it is a Windows-based product. So it requires that you put in Parallels or Boot Camp or something like that, and that you run Windows on your MacBook. So we have a lot of customers that run it that way, and it works really well that way, but it is a yes, but type of an answer. Yes, but you do need Windows to run it. JF says, can the candlestick annotation be available on the trial yet also? Yeah, so this $4.99 cost, $3.99 here at the class, is a one-time cost. And the way it's basically a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. So if for any reason you decide you don't like Metastock, you basically give us a call. We'll cancel your subscription and refund your money. Your risk reward on this thing is pretty good. There's one thing that I forgot to mention because we just started doing it as well, is if you're brand new to Metastock and you're setting up on the trial tonight, we will actually have one of our technicians call you. And then if you need, they'll actually do what we call a white glove installation appointment, where they'll help you make sure everything is installed. They'll answer basic questions that you have, and kind of just make sure that you're off to a good start. One of the things I like to brag about when I talk about Metastock is how good our support is. To be very, very literal in terms of the number of people we have here, we have more people that are in our sales and support team than we have in sales and marketing put together. And we just started a program with all of our new customers where we just go, hey, let us help you get everything running. And that's what they do. They set up a time. They help you get everything running. They walk you through it step by step and make sure you know how to run it. So it's a very, very good thing. You're welcome. Another question that I almost missed and was Lee. And if I do miss questions, just type them in again. I don't want to miss your question. But Lee asked, can I use TC2000 as a data provider instead of Reuters Data Link? And yeah, if that's the scenario that you're going with, Lee, here's what I'd recommend that you do. Okay? Sign up for the Metastock program on the trial, because again, that won't cost you anything. You can use it with Reuters Data Link for a month, and you can also go in and grab TC2000. What you need to do with TC2000 is their current version doesn't download data to your drive, which is what we need to be able to read it. So you'll actually, if I remember this right, you'll need to download TC2000 version 7.2 and install that, and it will download data and store it on your hard drive. Metastock can read that data, and you can use it, and you don't have to pay for 2 data subscriptions. You can just pay for Metastock. So the purpose of evaluation, just go with the data option. But that is an option for you to use Reuters Data Link or TC2000 instead of Reuters Data Link. And to be frank with you, a lot of TC2000 users do that. At one point, I was talking to one of the reps over there, and she was very nice. But she thought, yeah, I think we have about 70% of our customers using Metastock. So it is definitely something you can do. Okay. Jimmy asks, can this add-on be configured to other trading platforms like Thinkorswim, TradeStation, or TC2000? It can be configured to trade for you, but that is something that we're working on and will be available. But not, I'd say it's probably a version or 2 away at this point, to be frank. Right now, the people that are using Metastock and are using it more so that they can go in and eliminate all the stocks they're not interested in, and as a decision support tool. And that's what we specialized in. That's what we, they say focus on what you're good at, right? That's what we've tried to do with Metastock. But more and more people are asking, and they want a built-in trading interface. And we will, just because, there's also a saying that says, provide what your customers want. So we will be looking to add that in the future. Gail asks, is Metastock a charting program only? No, it also does. From a high level here, there's quite a few number of reasons to get Metastock. Yeah, it does do charts. It does all the scanning for you as well. It has, and one of my favorite features is the ability for it to kind of go in and label all these really good patterns for you, tell you what they mean. This isn't a good example of that, but if we go in and I could show you like 40 or 50 other patterns that are available based on Bollinger Bands or Equus candle or single day patterns for candlesticks or MACDs. The other things, just from a very high level, you have the ability to do system testing. And one of the things I like about our system tester above some of the other system testers that are out there is if you're in there kind of creating system tests, our system tester has the ability to take all of the system tests that come in Metastock, all of the ones that you might have created, and test against a whole universe of stocks instead of just one instrument. So it gives you a lot of really good analytics. And we won't do that today because we're running out of time. But we also have a forecaster. And the forecaster, it does a lot of, we have a patent on it, but what it does is a lot of statistical-based analysis. So it'll go in and say, well, there was maybe a 52-week high today. What has happened in the pace based on statistics, and where can I expect the price to go into the future, and how likely is that? And so it does charting. It's a huge toolbox. So like Steve was saying at the first of it, the problem with Metastock is you'll never use all of the tools in there. But the thing is, it's like it is a toolbox. I've been doing this for like 20 years. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years is a lot of programs have come and gone. At one point they were selling this moving average system that was like a red light, green light type of a system for like $3,000. And you're just like, why do people buy that? It's based on moving averages. And as soon as you knew what moving averages are and stuff like that, you'd grown out of this platform that was $3,000. The thing I've always loved about Metastock is the thing I like about a really good toolbox. I might never go in and use that socket wrench because I don't do a lot of work on my car, right? But I have a screwdriver in there. I've got a power drill in there. I've got a saw in there. So when I'm doing work around the house on different projects, I have those tools that are available for me. And so it's not something that you'll quickly grow out of. But what we showed you today is very, very easy, setting up these scans and these charts. 1 or 2 click operations. And as you grow as a trader, if you want to, like somebody was asking about it before, hey, I just want to add another volume criteria to this. Again, totally flexible. You're buying a toolbox, not a little box. So, Bill asked a question, can I program some of your own indicators? You absolutely can. I program indicators a lot. So you can write your own indicators. But it's not just limited to programming your own indicators. You can write your own scans. You can write your own system tests. You can write your own alerts. You can write your own highlights. Whatever you want to do, Bill. If you want to program some of your own indicators, you can. I'll say a few things about our programming language since you asked. It's all Excel-based. So all of the indicators that are already in there you can use as functions. And if you're familiar with kind of the way you have like a function-based language where it's like Excel for a good example, that's how we modeled it. So it's pretty easy to do. Okay, I think I answered that question, Bruce. So we call it the Metastock formula language. Sometimes when I'm joking, I call it the easier language, but it's similar to an Excel language. We tried to keep it very easy and very approachable and kind of walk that balance between that and flexibility. So anything, any scans that you want to write, Bruce, any indicators, any system tests, those are all things that you can create your own tools for. So there you go. Okay. If you want to find more about like our language and maybe get a little bit of a formula primer, or if there's questions that I didn't answer today, what I would recommend you do is just chat online with one of our guys. We've got 5 guys on the team right now. Most of them are available right now to take your chats or your phone calls. So you can give us a call at 800-882-3040, or you can chat online with us at metastock.com/sales-chat. And just to reiterate what you're getting, so normally it's $4.99, $3.99 here at the event. With that, you'll get a trial to Metastock if you need it. You'll get a training course on how to use Metastock with that. You'll get somebody calling you and actually spending some time with you to get everything up and running if you want. If you want to just install it by yourself, you'll be able to. But we call it a white glove installation appointment. And in addition to that, you're going to get that video that Steve and I recorded to kind of help you get started. And the way I recorded that was, okay, well, you're brand new to Metastock. Let me show you how to use this with Candle Profit Systems. Let me show you exactly what buttons you need to push. I think it's an incredible value. I would encourage you to try it out. Okay? Alistair Greaves says, can I order this tomorrow for $3.99? Yeah, we're actually leaving this special available for a week. One of the things that you might say is a good thing and might say is a bad thing is we're not high pressure here. When you decide to buy Metastock or when you decide to buy one of our products, we want you to be extremely comfortable with that decision. So we back it with our money-back guarantee. We make sure everything gets installed and running for you. And if it's something that just doesn't work out for you, it's something that you don't like, we'll give you a refund. So we try and keep that a very, very friendly environment and a very customer-friendly environment around here. It's probably why we've been in business for so long. It's probably why we also have a A+ rating or something with the Better Business Bureau. So, yes, Alistair. And I'd say in addition to that, thank you for your interest in ordering it. You're more than welcome to call us up tomorrow and get it for $3.99. Okay. Jay asked another great question. Man, you guys are doing my job for me tonight. So Jay says, maybe you don't want to learn about this formula language. Maybe you just want somebody to code something for me. So we do offer a formula programming service. You can use William. There are a couple of other guys that do it. But if you ever want to have an indicator written for yourself, maybe you just have a scan and we'll write a system or an indicator or an exploration for you. And you just have to spell it out really good. There is a fee for that because we actually take our programmers and make them available to write that for you. But it's only $35. So for $35, you hire the same programmer I use to develop CPS and the same programmers that I use to create some of the other add-ons too. Harold asked another question. Is this webinar recorded because I missed parts of it? Yes, as long as you registered for the event tonight, Steve's team is going to send you a copy of the recording as soon as it's available tomorrow. Okay? That's the end of the questions. I'm going to go play with my kids. So I appreciate your comment. If there's anything that you need from me, if you have questions for me, I will advise you I'm out of the office tomorrow. But if you drop me a message, I'd be more than happy to help you. And again, the number to call if you have questions, you kind of want to get involved in some detailed dialogue back and forth, 800-882-3040. Or you can chat online, metastock.com/sales-chat. Thank you, Sid, for coming. Thank you, everybody else, for coming. Harold, thank you. Steve, a big thank you for the work that you've done over the years for this. Not only do I really appreciate for what you've done for the Metastock business with creating one of the best products we've had, but personally, thanks for all the help you've had, the positive contributions you've done to my trading personally. So I do appreciate that. I'll see you guys at the next one.
Thank you very much.